One.
Watch The Fling Show live on YouTube Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Central Time.
Uh-oh. Don't think about this, but I have a walker just like that. Just right to that mando tree in the water. But don't think about that. Oh no. No, don't do it. Sorry.
Oh no! No, don't do it! Sorry.
Show you what a hand shot looks like.
All right. There it is. I've seen that a million times.
This right here, and Chris can have it. It's the Texas Ranger. It's in the Bravo. I think I'm gonna like the Alpha better, but I love the Lion. That's a long throw for me. Under.
Oh man, yes, sir. Let's fling this, bruh. That is, I'm sorry. I hope you didn't hear me giggling in the background, but I enjoyed that way too much.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Again.
love
Let's
the
watch
vote
it
of
again.
confidence where you're like, well, I don't want you to think about this, but don't think about it. Oh my goodness. Well, welcome to the Fling Show, folks. My name is Chris McClung. My co-host right there, the Mr. Great Advice Before You Throw, Mr. David Himmeline. He is also with us this evening. But yes, we enjoyed disc golf, and that's what I think I enjoy most about it, Dave, is just getting out there and having a good time. And that day we had a good time, that's for sure. But before we get started, handicap league, as you can see these two dogs behind us. Week 2 this week coming up. Bear Branch, $20 Saturday, 9 o'clock. Be there. Fun times. It's with still banging as well, but they're in week 2 of the league, of a 4-week league, and it has been a blast. If not, has been extremely hot. But this is the group that we got to go out. I got to go out and play with right here, as you got to see with the wonderful shots. Of course, the wonderful shots came from Dave because he was hitting all the putts, and of course, all the other wonderful shots that you got to see by John. Oh, anyway, I kid because I care. But let's get to the show this evening. Some big things happened over the weekend, not only here in the United States, but across the pond, as they'd like to say, and up a little bit over there. I believe it was in Norway. A kind of a big accident happened to one of the big FPO players. We're going to get into that in just a moment. But first, let's bring on my co-host, David Himmeline, and let's start talking about what happened at World Masters and a great representation from the Houston area as well. Dave, How you doing this evening, sir?
Hello, Chris. Fabulous. Doing fabulous. I'm so glad that walker didn't end up in the water right there in that spot. That was there was a lot of good tree. You got a lot of good tree hits that day. Good
Yeah, he
job.
did. A lot of good tree hits by John. But we were also out there really testing the brand new disc as well. But we told John most of his shots were bad shots were due to the fact that he wasn't throwing Lone Star disc. I mean, let's really get us down to it. If he throws a good disc, I think he'll throw better shots. So we had to pass that information along to John as well.
Yeah. That's funny. I had a practice round yesterday, and I found 2 discs, no name. One was a Mockingbird, probably first run, glow. The other was a zone, which I thought was really funny because I was doing some filming and had that zone to compare it to. But yeah, that was my
So,
experience.
what did you think about the Houston representation this past weekend at the World Masters?
Well, I haven't looked closely at it, but it looks like in the MA50, Eric Jubin tied. Congratulations for first place. I think lost in the playoff. I don't have all the details, but I think that's what happened. I think he had a hot round to come back.
That's
I'll have
just
to
amazing. I
check
mean,
the scores. Yeah, there's a
yeah,
lot
I
of
mean, to be in
talent.
that position alone in that field on that weekend, I mean, that's just amazing to see. But yeah, really proud of Eric. If anyone knows him from the Houston area, if you need anything or information about rules and regulations, he's your man. He's the guy the PDGA calls about rules and regulations, is Mr. Jubin as well. But congratulations to his first place tie. Unfortunately, like you said, lost in the playoffs.
Yep. Yeah, check out. I really haven't kept up. I have nothing for you tonight, so I
Well,
apologize, Chris.
well, really, I think the big story is what happened over the weekend. I believe in Norway, or it could have been Finland, but I think it was Norway, with Paige Pierce and breaking her ankle, just walking across the bridge. Kind of one of those freak accidents. But you hate to see it to a top player, that's for sure. And it kind of led me to a question. And you being a pro, of course, I reached out to you, and I did my own research, but you kind of found a little bit more than I did. But I mean, what ends up happening to these pros? Unlike other sports that we are familiar with, where they have doctors and medical staff, and we know that their attentions and their medical care is taken care of along with their bills. It was kind of a question I had, and it was a little hard for me to find. So if anyone who's watching the show has, deep knowledge of how the pros are handled as far as their insurance goes, I'd like to know. But you did send me a link, Dave, and I kind of did pull up what the PDGA's coverage is. And I didn't know that if this also went to the Disc Golf Pro Tour and if they were separate. So that was kind of my question for you. And if you don't know the question, hopefully it's for our audience so they can answer it.
Yeah. It seems pretty clear that they're offering liability coverage for an incident that might happen at their event. And that's kind of how I read it. I'm not sure, which I never knew that you can actually be covered by the PDGA just by signing some piece of paper that you sign up for when you enter the tournament.
Right, because when I called the PDGA, I'd actually asked them for coverage, additional coverage for the Southern Star Duo, the B tier tournament that we're throwing in December. And I wanted to see if there's an additional coverage that we could get for not only the staff, but the players. And the email I got back, I should have pulled it up, was that all players are covered who are signed up under the PDGA and disc golf scene, they are covered through the insurance that the PDGA has, which I thought was amazing. Now, I know that had also been a large, most people, let's see, how do I want to put this? A lot of people have concerns about where the money goes from the PDGA. And from what I have read when I was kind of doing my research on this after you sent me this a little while ago, or earlier this afternoon, what I was finding out is a majority of the money does go to the insurance coverage for their tournaments. And you can only imagine how many tournaments that is. I mean, really, this is kind of mind-boggling, and the places that they go as well. So, it's an interesting conversation to be had, especially like you said, you didn't even know that your coverage is playing a C tier. I mean, you're playing doubles, anything that has to do with PDGA certified tournament, you are covered. But I do not know if that goes also towards the Disc Golf Pro Tour and if they're a separate entity. Do you know if Disc Golf Pro Tour is a separate entity from the PDGA, or are they just working partners? I'm also curious to know how that kind of goes, because then again, their insurance might be different.
Yes, Chris. Yes. That's all I got. I have nothing for that, but yeah. I would guess, I would assume that it's a separate entity as the PDGA, and they probably have their own kind of insurance thing.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like that would be a whole can of worms, in your business. And I'd never even, today was the first time I even thought about it, how it related to like me. So if I'm going and playing Oak Meadow and I scratch my leg off and I need surgery, PDGA is going to cover that. Interesting. Never
And
thought
obviously
about
this
it.
doesn't give us the numbers, but just general liability coverage right there,
Yeah, it
maintained by the
says it.
PDGA
Yeah.
right above my head.
I thought one of the funny searches I found was, it was actually the first one that came up, Frisbee Golf Insurance. That's what it says. And it
You
goes
said
on
that,
to
and so
it
here,
goes on to use the F word many times in this little sales
well, here
pitch.
you go, because you sent me that link too. So I went ahead and took a picture of that one as well. As you said, the Frisbee Golf Insurance for
Yeah.
Youth,
Is
but
that
they
different than
cover
disc golf?
a litany of things as well. I kind of need to get out of the way. I think I'm on the wrong side of this one. But
saw
yeah,
that.
there you go. They
Regular
cover
season
Frisbee
Frisbee
golf,
golf, because
travel.
that off season Frisbee golf is terrible. It's just terrible. But we can do it during the season. We can handle it.
Well, I know with talking to Steve Dufresne, when he's an owner of a course, obviously, so he has to carry liability on the course. So when we run tournaments out there, everyone's covered as well, even though the PDGA is covering it. But when you run a course like that, that's private and people are on the course, obviously you're supposed to sign in, which allows you to sign the waiver. However, I've been watching a few of these disc golf videos of these young kids making where they play some of these incredible courses. And one of the courses one of the young men was playing was in the Redwood Forest up in California. And a couple of the tee boxes, Hemi, were literally 6 feet up off the ground inside of a redwood tree with not really a step to get up and or to get down. And I'll have to send you the video. It's just amazing. They were standing there shooting out of a redwood tree, right? And I was thinking to myself, that's kind of crazy. And then fast forward today, I'm watching one, and he's in Montana, I believe, on a private course that's right next to Yellowstone National Park. And you should have seen the boulders that he's shooting around in the middle of this huge, beautiful terrain, just absolutely stunning, right? And the things he was having to climb over and climb down, like if you missed your shot, you were walking. I mean, you were climbing, not walking to go get your disc. And I'm thinking the liability alone on that must just be nerve-wracking,
Yeah, I had never actually until today never even thought about it. And I've seen people get carted off, courses. They're in Kansas City. There's What was it? Can't remember which course, but yeah, Rosedale. That's what it is. It's got this, I mean, just nasty hill, and the whole entire, pretty much that whole course plays on that nasty hill. And when it rains or snows, which I can't remember which, I think it was a rain event at Worlds. I think that's what it was.
Hmm.
Some guy got nasty leg break back there sliding down, but yeah, that's
And we
that
had that
has
kid
to
at
be.
Northside Christian when we had the drive for membership drive at Stonebridge Church, and he stepped off the box on 3 on Northside. I mean, at Stonebridge.
Oh
3, the
yeah.
elevator, when that box was not level with the dirt, stepped right off the end of that and broke his ankle. AP and all those guys had Mayo. They had to go pick him up, get him into a truck, carry him all the way down, and drive him to the hospital. I mean, once again, as a club, you're not really thinking of things in liability like that. And the church alone, I guess, would have to be covering liability insurance. I don't think that player used it. However, you think about these things. You and I play with guys. Russell Taylor swung his hand, hit a tree, and broke his hand. And
Mhm.
so obviously, I don't think he paid for that as well.
Yeah, and you have to pay for that. I mean, that it's so expensive. Any kind of emergency care, you're going to be out a couple $3,000 probably. Even with
Timmy, my
insurance. Yeah.
daughter had to go about 3 weeks ago. She was there for 3 hours, barely saw the doctor for about less than a minute and a half. The bill was $9,000. One IV, an IV, a CAT scan, I believe. It was $9,000 for 3 hours is the bill we got. 11,000 was the total.
Wow.
And so I'm just sitting for 3 hours. And I often tell people all the time, sometimes I can't afford to have insurance. The insurance I have, I can't even afford it to use it. It's just crazy.
It is.
It's crazy.
Yep. And you just go, like every other American, you just go, yeah, sorry. I can't pay that right now. But hey, thank you.
Oh,
Appreciate it.
we're paying it off. We're doing
I
our due
know.
diligence to do what we
That's
got
what
to
I
do. But
mean. But
it's just
it's
one of
like
those
when you
things
get
that
one of
now
those
hangs
big
over you as
chunky ones,
a bill.
when you get one of those big chunky ones like that, there's a moment there where you're like, not paying this right now.
Well, you do know the story when I broke my hip. That's why I call my hip my $25,000 Porsche, because it cost me 25 grand, and I broke it when I was 25 years old and didn't pay it off until I was 37. That's how long it took me to pay that thing off. Now, it wasn't in a huge rush either, but
Wow.
cost me 25 grand. I have insurance. I was in between college and a job, just gotten home.
There's no trade-in value, really.
Yeah, and it doesn't look as good. It didn't age well.
Hey, you're out there throwing discs, and it says a lot. So it has aged well.
Yeah, well, true. I mean, I had knee surgery as well, shoulder surgery, all on the same side. We weren't kind to our bodies when we were young. My grandma used to always tell me that. She said, "Kid, you should play tennis. You got little hands. You should play tennis." I was like, "But nobody cheers, Grandma. Football is where it's at."
I like your grandma.
I should have listened to her. Anyway, hey, I did want to ask you a little bit about last week's guest. Thank you so much once again. After all the surgery I had, I was not able to articulate or really talk at all. And I apologize for that tonight as well, but a little bit better. I found it really fascinating, and it's usually a topic that we do not cover. But I just sat there and listened, and sometimes you gain insight by just listening, right? By not even communicating. And I wanted to ask you a question. One thing that I kind of felt as Bill, right? Hefner, with an A. one of the things that he really spoke to that really resonated with me in that conversation, and I felt that it did as you as well, is when he was talking about the truthfulness, is when he found truth, he found almost enlightenment in a sense. But I find that oftentimes, and you may see this as well, that when people find something like he found, they almost have to apologize in a sense, and then make reasons of why, well, this may not be the way it's for you, or I know it's hard to believe, when the reality was you could just sense in him that whatever it was that he felt, it was so real and it captured him. And I guess the question is that why do people oftentimes feel the need to explain it, like, please don't think I'm crazy, you know?
Oh yeah, I would imagine there's a lot of kickback, just from my experience with just being interested in the near death experience phenomenon. Um, I've run across, people with just like angry ideas about it, or like, just it's met with some kind of force sometimes. And I'm like, it's just a belief. It's not even a belief. It's just something that I'm kind of interested in. And sometimes that gets met with this kind of hatred almost, or not hatred, but I guess it's just that unknown. It's just so, I don't know, kind of intimidating or something. I'm not sure exactly why the anger. Or they, the classic one is that they're angry at you because you're so stupid.
Hmm.
Does that make sense? Because you go there and you believe that. Well, you must be an idiot, so I'm angry at you. You know what I'm saying about the anger part? That's a thing,
Yeah.
and I know that that's not, that's probably not what he would say. I'm not speaking for him, I'm just speculating over what that would be, why you would have to. But, I think in talking to Bill, he's very humble human, and he goes out of his way to make you understand you have your beliefs and I have mine. He really sets that groundwork. He's not like, he's just saying, I'm not preaching, I'm just saying, pretty amazing thing that happened to me, but I'm not preaching, but this
I
happened.
mean, I can understand why people in his immediate circle, because of things that he expressed that he did and went through, would not have doubt in what he has to say, right? I mean, obviously, when you put people through years and years and years of conditioning, is like my grandma used to say, I hear you, but I see you better, right? And I see you what you do. I hear what you're saying. You have all the good intentions, but I see what you're doing, right? And after years and years and years, people tend to less believe in you. But it was truly amazing the part where he got to where it, you know, he felt like, no, that he knew it was, he was dying. He knew that what he was going through and what was happening to him at that moment was not right. And the enlightenment which he received, however one receives it, is that gift is just amazing. And you could hear it in him. You see it exude from him almost through the screen. And I loved his take on, driving down the road. If you're in the fast lane and everybody's just on you and on you and on you, why get mad? Just pull over to the right and just let them go. My grandma used to always say that too. Just let them go. Just let them go by. They have somewhere to be that's much more important than what you got to do. And that one just kind of resonated with me as well. And you being someone who drives as much as you do, I wonder how you deal with that every day. I mean,
Just
is
like
it
that.
easy?
Just like that. Just let them go. It happens with a rider sometimes. You get cut off, or and you get to, in front of this rider, you get to show them I'm not trying to get ahead of this person. Basically you, with your body language, which is letting people in, you kind of, I think you set the whole thing at ease, because you're in a different, I'm at a different pace here. Every
And are
once
you
in a
able to
while.
do that now? Are you saying that you're able to
Yeah,
do that?
yeah. And I made up I made a conscious effort in the beginning to do that, because I could tell, and I've never been, I don't say I wasn't an aggressive driver, but I had my moments like everybody else, where I had to get one car length ahead of that other car or something, just like everybody has those moments, or you just get in a hurry. Your life gets you, and kind of like, takes you, and you're like, oh, I'm being taken here, instead of being in control of how you feel about just getting across town. It's really not that big of a deal. But so I think it's a practice, really, it's a practice for me to, not to get too deep, but forgiveness, and just allowing, like you said, just, you know, like your grandmother said, just let them go.
Kid, she call me kid. Kid, just let him go. Just let him go. Couple things I always remember, that one, and that one, she'd always say, kid, have fun while you're young. And I was just like,
Yeah.
those are things that I took with me, and I try to pass along to my kids. And have to give a shout out to my son today. It's his 23rd birthday.
Wow.
Today
Happy
made it
birthday.
23 years old. So we got to
Right
go
on.
out and celebrate that a little bit today, and we're going to take the weekend as well and do a few things that he likes to get done. But we went and saw the new Indiana Jones movie. He just was a big fan, and he wanted to see that final chapter, so we went and saw that today as well.
Who's in that?
Huh?
Who's in that? Anybody I know?
God, Antonio Banderas was in it.
Okay.
No, he really was. Like, if you don't know who he is, you actually have to go, holy crap, that's
Who?
Antonio Banderas, Puss in Boots, or I don't know what movies people know him from, but I guess some people know him from the Quentin Tarantino movie with the
Yeah.
vampire and that movie where he's in the bar, I guess. God, but anyway, yeah. So we went there today.
Antonio
But yeah, congratulations to
Banderas.
him. So pretty excited.
Yeah.
23 years old. Boy, goes by so slow.
Yeah, it sure does. We Presley and I went and watched last week the Spider Verse animation. Highly recommend.
Yes, my son and I went and watched that a couple weeks
Did
back,
you?
and I agree with
I want
you
to go again.
100%. It's one of those movies I tell people, if you're an artist like yourself, you've got to go watch this movie just for the art alone. I mean, it's kind of like Avatar. Even if you don't like movies that have to do with that subject matter, you had to go watch it just for the visual things that they had done that you'd never seen before. And I kind of felt that way with this movie with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, or whatever it's called, but you know what I'm talking about. But what did you think about just the magnificent presentation and the colors and the changes? I mean,
Yeah, it's
amazing.
crazy. Yeah, it was nonstop. We got there, I guess, right as the movie was starting, and there was a line, so I didn't get my popcorn fix. You go to a movie, you gotta get that $10 bag of popcorn. So we didn't do our popcorn, and we didn't need it, because we sat down, we were just swept up into the movie, and for a couple hours, I don't know how long it lasted, but it was nonstop. But it had its moments too with the music, where it pulled back and just sort of got kind of soulful, and so much that I kept, listening for that soundtrack. So I Googled it, and I was listening to it at work. After, the week after we watched it, and then there's pretty good stuff. Not my cup of tea, the rap stuff, but some of that, especially when it got to the spot, the villain, some of those were pretty creepy soundtrack stuff. That's what I was interested in. So what is that sound? It's really bizarre.
but visually stunning. Just
Oh man,
visually, just the transitions, it kept you. And I got to the point to where if I watched something animated, I used to fall asleep because I'd seen so many with the kids. Right, you've seen pretty much every Pixar movie there was, and all the new Disney movie for the last 20 years, and so it was a recipe for me to go to sleep. That one, it held my interest from the moment it clicked on. I was like, oh, okay, I'm into this one. This is something different. This is something special. And it's kind of funny. I feel about that same thing about the new Ninja Turtle ones. Have you seen the clips for that? The new
yeah.
that drawing and the way they animated that, I was like, okay, that's pretty amazing. And then they have Ice Cube is the villain. He starts one of his lines when he's talking to him. I forgot what it was like. He goes, 6:00 in the morning, the police are at my front door, which is a song that they have, but he's saying it as a line in the theater. So I burst out laughing. Not one other person in the theaters, they're not even giggling, right? And everybody's looking like, what are you laughing about? It's like, okay, showing my age there, aren't I? Not that I'm the biggest NWA fan, but
Right. Hey, check my.
I'm
This
sorry,
was
Public Enemy. That was Public Enemy, right? Or no, it was NWA. That was
this
NWA.
was a Saturday night at my house. Let's see if I can get you some sound. Let's see.
Do what?
I'm gonna show you a couple of images. This was at my house. Can you see that?
Oh, yeah.
We had about 20 cop cars. They took out 2 girls on a stretcher. This was at 3 in the morning. So that was my Saturday night.
Okay. It wasn't from your house.
That
I think
was-
you said that. Where was
That
this
was
house at?
right across the street.
Oh, right across the street. Okay, good. At first,
yeah,
I think it was in your house.
one of our neighbors moved out, and now it's a Airbnb or VRB, whatever you call it. And that was the first weird incident. It was pretty weird. I don't know what was going on there, but the inside scoop from the neighborhood was that it was pretty strange what was going on in there. So not sure exactly who called the cops or what, but yeah, they have for any of those Airbnb, I think there's like an 8 people limit or 6 people or whatever, and they had good 50 people or more. And so they thought they could rent a VRB and have a big party and get away with it. It didn't work out. And yeah.
Yeah.
At one point I zoomed in and there was this younger officer, probably the rookie, and he comes out with a bag, and he's got gloves on, and I see him kind of talking, and then he says okay, and then he's looking around, and then he starts dumping whatever's in the bag and then stepping on it and smushing it. And so all this crazy stuff's going on. There's this guy over there, and he's just stepping on weed. That's his job. His job is to smash the weed, which I thought was hilarious. I just zoned in on that. I wish I had a better camera, but because it was like a little dance that he was doing. He was kicking it into the grass, and I was like, it took me a minute to figure out what it was. Oh, that must be the ganja. But yeah, they had a big party, and it was exciting.
Yeah, I
had a
can't see that in
friend-
your neighborhood. That's a very quiet neighborhood. I mean,
Well, it's the Airbnb nightmare that you hear about. I guess that was it.
mhm.
They always say those things because people will rent them and try to have a party, and they got away with it for till about 2 in the morning. So
Oh, it was just for one evening. They weren't there beforehand.
yeah, and then they made them all leave too that night. It took them a while to get everybody out of there.
Imagine 50 people parking on your street. That's not a wide street
It's
anyway.
not, and that was the problem. It was an instant traffic jam. people trying to flee the party had no luck because the cops were all the way down to probably
Well,
20
there's only one, there's only two entrances, one on one end and one on the other, and you ain't getting
Yeah.
out.
And I guess that was their reasoning. It worked out, but it, for the most part, went off peacefully. No gunfire or anything like that. So we were thankful for that. And my neighbor across the street, I was talking to him, and just taking all the necessary steps that you got to take for the company that is in charge of that. You got to get to that source and tell them, hey, this ain't gonna work. This is not working out.
Yeah, it's scary nowadays. Our days when you partied, if somebody had an argument, they went outside and they just fought, and one went home, the other one went inside. But nowadays, it's not like that. I'm very fortunate that my kids, neither one of them there's never into that, not into that scene, and not into the big party thing.
Yeah.
Like, thank goodness.
Yeah, same here. That's hadn't thought about it, but yeah, I'm very blessed to not have to deal with that scene.
Well, let's fling it over here for a second. You said you went out and got a practice round in.
Mm-hmm.
What disc are you kind of finding now that you're honing in on, or a couple that are really, getting tight for you?
Liking the, Guadalupe for sure. It's doing what it's doing, I like it. I still love the tumbleweed. I was actually driving out yesterday to go play. I guess I was going to go play Bear Branch, and I was going right on the 22 or 242, and there was a tiny tumbleweed. It rolled right by me, and I tried to video it. It's like the video was bad, but yeah, I don't think I've ever remember seeing a tumbleweed in Houston, but there it was. So yeah, I'm really digging the tumbleweed. I love the shape of the rim. It has that it's kind of like recessed back this way, angled this way, so it has a real comfortable feel to it. Love it. Putters, definitely gotten used to those two putters with the blue bonnet. And
how about the Ranger, that new Mockingbird?
Mockingbird is it's there's two in my bag now. There's that one that I found with no name on it. The new Mockingbird, it's a different mold, kind of. It's a lot more stable. So it's a totally different disc actually than what I remember. So it really hasn't found a place in the bag.
Because you got the Lariat for your stable, right?
Yeah, and the dome. Surprisingly, Travis hit me up with that disc. Surprisingly, I like that disc a lot. I like the numbers. It kind of reminds me of a Valkyrie back in the day. A slower driver, I guess, flippy driver. So I'm finding some of the flippy ones that I'm enjoying. Harrier, definitely my roller disc.
Wow, for some reason, I thought the dome was more of a mid. Am I crazy? Here it is.
The dome. So
No, you're right. Oh, wow.
Kind of Valkyrie.
8631.
Yeah, 8 speed. Yeah.
Yeah, this is an 8631 for this dome.
Yeah. Yeah.
-3.
-3. Yeah. Yeah. So that's the one that reminded me.
You like understable stuff though, huh? You like to flip stuff up a lot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got to have it. So I just need certain ones that will just do that, and I'm discovering they're out there. I like the dome. I like the way it feels in the hand.
Did you happen to get to see any of that interview with Paul Macbeth this week before the event this weekend? And I kind of texted you about it, where it was amazing, and it shouldn't be, that he was able, as they were asking him questions, he was already going, okay, hole 1's a driver, hole 2's a mid, hole 3's a driver, hole 4's a forehand, hole 5's a, and he was just going down the shots of all 18 off the box because he was talking about the disc he was going to throw. And I found it really interesting because then he equated that to the courses that they were playing and how he really enjoyed that it went from tunnel shots to low shots to OBs that were uniquely placed next to the greens that were shallow water that you may not lose your disc, but risk reward shot there. Talking about having to throw a sky shot, then a roller shot. And I was just like, it was just amazing. And if you get a chance, go back and listen to the interviews. They have it timed out there. But his mindset and how he was so focused on exactly what he was going to do to that course, the one he's playing this weekend. I just found it extremely interesting, especially when he was talking about that he enjoyed the different types of shots that it makes them throw, because they were asking him about injuries and they weren't bringing up Page. But he goes, where you're seeing the more the injuries now, he goes, when they play the golf ball courses, because he even talks about it. He goes, I realize that, sure, I can throw 100% and maybe throw further, or I can throw 80 to 85%, still get to 500 feet, which is kind of irritating, but still get to, 500 feet and still play my game and play against the course. He goes, where you're starting to see these guys pick up more injuries throughout the season is when they started integrating more ball golf courses to the tour, because these guys are out there just trying to get as much as they can. And he goes, I can't throw like Eagle McMahon and last through the year. So he's really talking about pacing himself for the year, keeping himself healthy enough, how many throws he needs to have, and actually how much effort he gives on each throw. I thought that was very interesting. He was calculating effort,
Uh-huh. That's good. That's good. I kind of had a mini aha moment like that in my, quest to, I signed up for a tournament this weekend. So I've been playing and thinking about score and trying to put myself in that situation, but I realized that, there's not a whole lot of difference between my curl and my lariat in terms of how it finishes out on the hole. And definitely my arm speed is not there for bigger discs. So I guess I sort of said, okay, here's my game. I'm going to stay within that limit. So I can totally understand what Paul is saying about, just why go out and try to rip, a 650-foot roller shot when I can just place it right down the middle and play the hole as intended. But that's an interesting fact. I hadn't thought about injuries coming from those kind of courses. I would think the wooded courses would be more a place where you would have more injury. But really the truth is the injuries that we're seeing are basically shoulder, arm, tendonitis, stuff like that, just overuse.
You and I played baseball. How many times you seen a picture of them when they were young? They were great in junior high. Then they got into high school and they're pretty good for a couple of years. But you know how those coaches said, "Oh, he's our star," and they just go ahead and throw him the whole dang game, and then the next day as well. Until finally years later, they realized that, hey, you know what? They should only throw maybe 100 pitches every 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
You see these kids with arm injuries, elbow injuries, shoulders injuries all the time.
Yeah.
But it was just, I thought it was unique when he said he actually tries to throw 85%, right?
Uh-huh. And that's good. That's how I do it too. Maybe not even that, for me.
I've always said when you throw smooth, you tend to throw further.
Yeah.
And more accurate. I think that's with anybody though.
Yeah.
Well, before we go tonight, you going to let us in on the tournament which you signed up for?
I did sign up for the Brock event. I don't even know what it's called.
Oh, you want to go down there? Is that thing going to be on the
beach here.
Texas State course down there?
Yeah, it's a beach here.
Oh, look at that.
And it's 2 days, tee times. I figure I can handle that. I can play 2 rounds. It's not like
What
stacking,
time of the year?
it's this weekend.
Oh, dang, maybe I come caddy for you. I got a freaking appointment on Sunday still, and I'm not supposed to do any more activity. I know the wife's not gonna let me do it till my 2 weeks are up. I can't. I'm like a rat right now in the cage. Right, my house is getting clean. Everything's getting straightened up. I'm getting on everyone's nerves. I can't get outside and go do what I need to go do. But dang, I'd like to come out there and see that course for sure. I really want to see that course. You gonna be able to take any video, or are you going to be focused on
I don't,
playing?
I guess tomorrow would be a good day to get out there and see it. So maybe I could run into somebody who might be playing it, but it's called the Lone Star Discs Summer Slam at Brock Mod. So it looks like it's run by Gorilla, sponsored by Lone Star. Somewhere I saw a Gorilla name.
Well, if you're down there, you're down south, it's going to be with Gorilla.
Yeah. Well, but I know, there's some Vandegrift comments. I know that they, have been doing a lot of work with Lone Star and incorporating their merchandise and more into their store, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, my last round was with Travis Dillard and Patrick Womack.
Right on. Yeah.
I mean, except with
Yeah.
y'all, but my last rated round was with Travis and Patrick at the Lone Star event at Stonebridge. And I hadn't been on a card with Patrick ever, so it was a pleasure to play with him, that's for sure.
I saw Patrick at that Stone at the shop tournament, the 9-hole flex thing. I think that's what it was. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
he's not bad for a 50-year-older like us.
Really, yeah. Keeps in shape.
Well, dang.
That guy has lots of energy too, man.
Oh yeah, he does have a lot of energy. Tons and tons and tons. You know, it's funny when I watched you were watching that, I guess it was the MA50 guys for Worlds. Is that what Feldberg is in?
No, he's MP.
MP.
Yeah.
But MP 50, right? Or something like that. MP 50 or 40. I forgot which one it was.
50, Feldberg. Yeah, somewhere around there.
But is it him who has the run up that looks just like Griff's? I mean, it's like from way back in, it's like 7-7.
No, I would think Feldberg would be more concise and
it was Anton
simpler.
or something. I can't remember the guy's name, but he was on that final card with those guys. And I mean, every time he teed off, I was like, God, that looks like Griff. He'd take off from way back there and come running through real quick. It's like, man, who needs a runway that big? Too many things can go wrong in that amount of time for me. Anyway, well, that's all I have for this evening. I'm just trying to make it through the weekend until next week when I can start playing again. Like I said, I get everything checked out again on Sunday. So hopefully he gives me the thumbs up so I can get out there and start getting active. He's like, well, right now, you can putt.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Brock Park and didn't get to play it. The last time I was there, I got to see it a lot and study, watched them play it a lot. Looking forward to that.
Well, I'm interested in seeing you play. I'm interested to see your
because-
thoughts about that course for sure.
Well, that's the one that he's talking about with Macbeth's talking about, not that one course, but that style. And Griff, they did a great job of making this course not seem like a stick golf course, So I'm looking forward to it. Just like most rounds, it's going to be about upshots and putts. I felt like I really got off the box really well.
You've been
at
putting,
Northside.
been putting so well, though. I mean, it's just like, and I got the video to prove it. And those weren't second putts you were hitting; those were first putts you were hitting. And I think I got like 9 birdies at one time. I think you had 6 in a row. I don't think you were counting them, but if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I always play well in Northside. That's a lefty friendly course though. So I'm looking at this site again. So I Googled disc golf insurance and I got frisbee golf insurance. This guy, whoever made this website, has a thing, and it's an inside joke because I don't think I've ever seen the word frisbee golf mentioned so many times on one article. There's like 15 times right just on that one page.
I read it.
I think it's a joke. I think this is kind of a joke, man. It's making fun of our sport, but anyway.
Frisbee golf.
So I'm glad we got to enlighten everybody with our insurance knowledge. That was a
Well, I'm hoping somebody gives us more information about, to be honest with you, somebody smarter than I. And I might see Travis and them tomorrow. So I might pick their brain about how they handle with their pros, or if that's handled by them, or
Yeah.
however that's done. I can't imagine a distributor or a manufacturer being able to afford insurance for their players. I mean, oof.
yeah. But you have to consider it, or at least it needs to be thrown out there. But yeah.
I sure hope that I hope it's the tour that does it, kind of like the NFL, NBA. They
Yeah.
have insurance for everybody. I hope they do that.
Yep.
But hopefully we'll find out. We're asking you guys, help us out here, guys. Help us out. Well, Dave, good luck this weekend. If you have an opportunity, don't mess up your game, but love to see some video or some commentary or something about how you're starting off or practicing or whatever it is. I'd like to see some video from that course for sure.
Yeah. I might get out there, do that tomorrow. So
Okay.
I'll keep you posted.
All right, Monfrere. Well, you have a good night.
All right. Appreciate you, Chris.
All right, brother. What were we supposed to say? Go fling it, bruh.
Fling it, bro.
Peace. We'll let Mikey stay dry tonight. Y'all have a good night, folks. Go fling it, bruh.